Okay, we're just going to start on our backs. Today's video will help you with neck tension and opening across your chest and for tight shoulders as well. So we'll take our arms out to the side with your palms facing up. If that already feels like a lot of tension, bring your arms down a little bit more closer to your hips. And try to get the back of the shoulder blades down, so you might have to lift up and just kind of tuck them in and down. Take a few deep breaths here, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Really try to breathe into the back side of your rib cage, so creating nice three-dimensional movement into the rib cage, not just breathing in the upper chest. Feel the side ribs and the back of the ribs open up to receive the breath as well. Let's slowly start to inch those arms up a little bit. So they're going to now be at the sides of the body. So opening up into a T shape here. Breathing into the space across the front of the chest. So if this is tight for you, I just want you to stay here. If it's possible to start to bring the arms up a little bit more, you can bring them up a little bit more. Just being mindful though that it doesn't make your backside of your rib cage start to lift off the floor. So you want to be in neutral spine here. A little bit of softness or lightness in the low back and the upper back heavy. Some of you will have the range to bring your arms all the way up above your head, but I do want you to keep your arms on the floor and also your upper back on the floor. So for me, I feel like my chest starts to flare when I do that. So this is probably my max right about here. You can have the arms straight or a little bend into the elbows and just breathe into the back ribs. A little gentle rise and fall of the belly. It's absolutely amazing how much just breathing can help to reduce neck tension. And not just regular breathing, but breathing in a way that you're expanding the rib cage three-dimensionally. We're getting the diaphragm moving, a little rise and fall of the belly. And taking the breath just out of the upper chest and into the whole back side of the rib cage. Then from here, we're going to lift our arms up, just your upper arms, or sorry, your lower arms, I guess your forearms. Make two fists and bring your elbows out so that they're in line with your shoulders, backside of the ribs on the floor. With your fists, slowly start to lower those fists towards the floor, down towards your feet, without letting the back of your shoulders pop off of the mat. And then slowly start to bring them back. So how far can you go? The goal is not to let the hands touch. So you don't want to bend at your wrist to let your knuckles touch. You just kind of go back as far as you can. But again, not letting yourself come out of neutral spine. So the back of the ribs are on the floor and the pelvis is on the floor. And then come up and go forward. So try not to, in your mind, think, oh, I have to get my hands down. I want you to instead just see what the range is, but remaining in neutral spine and not letting the back of the shoulders pop off the floor, not letting the back of the rib cage pop off the floor. Okay, let's do that 2 more times. So coming forward. And coming back. And you might be noticing you're, gaining a millimeter of range every time, or maybe not. And then notice if you are gaining a lot of range, are you cheating somewhere to make that happen? And then come back. Good. And then just take the arms back down by your sides. You might have a little bit of tinglies in your fingers after that. That's pretty normal. We're going to go onto our side next. So just lying on your side, you can put a blanket underneath your head if you like. Lying on your side in the fetal position, let's take the left side first. Take your left arm out underneath you and then place your right palm on top. You reach as far as you can, let your head fall to the ground. Reach as far as you can with the right hand and then draw your fingertips along the inside of your arm, all the way along the inside of your bicep, your chest. Rotate open a little bit so now you're looking at the ceiling and your right arm's going out to the side. So, you know, some of you might have your shoulder all the way on the ground and your arm flush to the floor, but if your shoulder doesn't touch the floor, don't bring your hand down. So you want to keep your arm in line with the line of your shoulder. And we'll do this 3 times. So reach as far as you can with the right hand and then slowly starting to come back over the arm, over the chest, rotating open. And same thing, keeping the arm in line with the shoulder. You might even take your gaze over the right arm if that feels okay. If it's too intense, just keep looking up at the ceiling. Let's do that one more time. So reaching across, sweep across, coming back across the arm, opening and reach your arm out to the side. Hold for a couple of breaths. Breathe as though you could breathe right into the place you feel the most sensation. And try to get that 3-dimensional movement of your rib cage, even in a twist. And then bring the arm across and we're going to roll over to the other side. So I'm going to do this one facing away from you because it might just give you a little bit of a better perspective if you weren't sure about that movement on the other side. So now our left hand stacks on top of the right hand. Reach as far as you can and then slowly start to draw back along the inside of the arm, across the inside of the chest, and opening up. So I'll show you what I mean by if your shoulder doesn't touch the floor, don't bring your hand down. So you want to keep your arm in line with the shoulder, not here, because then that's just kind of actually builds more tension in the front of the chest. So let's come across, reach. You'll probably find in this movement that every time you might gain a little bit of a range, a little bit more movement in your range. Opening out, keeping that arm and hand in line with your shoulder. Breathe into the place you feel the most sensation. You can look to your left hand or just keep your gaze to the ceiling. And then let's go one more time and then we'll hold for a couple of breaths. Reaching across, sweeping open. Open your arm out and breathe into the back side of your shoulder girdle. Breathe into your neck. Breathe into your lats or your chest, wherever you feel the most restriction. And then let's come back and around and we'll press ourselves up onto all fours. So coming onto your hands and your knees, let's go hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. And we'll move through cat-cow a few times. So just rounding through the back, tucking the tailbone, round through your spine, tuck your chin. Untuck your tailbone, lift and lengthen and extend and look forward. Exhale and round through the spine, tuck the tailbone vertebrae by vertebrae by vertebrae. Tuck your chin if it feels okay. Untuck the tailbone, lifting, lengthening, and extending. And one more time, tucking the tailbone under, push your hands into the floor. Try to really access as much of the spine as you can here. And then untuck the tailbone and lift and lengthen and extend. And then coming into a neutral spine, let's take those knees wide and the big toes together. Slide back onto your heels. Walk your hands a little bit over to the right. Take your right hand around your left wrist and draw back through the whole left side of the body. So using your right hand to really almost pull the left hand forward as you draw back. And then let's go over to the other side. Clasp onto your right wrist, draw back through the whole right side and breathe. Okay, and then coming back up onto all fours. Okay, hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. This one's a little bit more of an active movement. Keep your left hand kind of under your shoulder, slightly forward, and take your right hand behind your head. So your fingertips are just lightly behind your head. Lift your head up into your hand. Bring your right elbow in towards your left arm, and then rotating open, pushing your head into your hand. So your rotation might not be that big, that's okay. Move with the breath. Inhale down, exhale open. And again, inhaling down. Push into the floor, exhale, lift your head into your fingers, open, and one more. And rotate open, lift the elbow open, and bring your hand down. Rock those hips side to side, and then let's go to the other side. So we'll take the left hand behind the head, fingertips really light, lift your head up into your fingers so you're not pushing down, and then elbow into your arm, rotate open, exhale. And coming in, inhale, exhale, open. Keep the right arm straight. Don't worry if the range isn't very big. This is quite a difficult rotation. And rotate open. Last one. If you shake a little, that's normal. Rotate and open. And then coming down. Okay, from here, let's, I'm gonna give you two options, okay? So the first one, you could come down onto your belly. This one isn't going to be that accessible for everyone or feel good for everyone, but I have a modification. So you could take both arms, cross them in opposition underneath you, and then tuck your chin in. This can be an absolutely amazing stretch. You could do one arm at a time and just kind of bend the opposite elbow and rest your forehead into the palm of your hand if it just felt too intense to do two arms. Or your option is on all fours, take your right arm forward and thread your left arm underneath, maybe your forehead to the floor. So you can choose whichever variation is accessible and feels good today. Take one more breath here. And then we'll switch the crossing of the arms. So if you're lying on your belly, just switch which arm is in front. Or from all fours, take the left arm forward and the right arm underneath. Maybe your forehead to the floor or looking underneath your left arm. And again, trying to breathe into the place you feel the most sensation. Okay, let's come up through the center. For the next exercise, you're going to need either a yoga block or you can use your hand. So if you have a yoga block, you'll take your yoga block and press your yoga block against your forehead. This seems really weird, I know. Let's do the long edge. Then place your hands on the block and we'll create a little bit of pressure. So pushing your forehead into the block and the block into your head and just nod. So we're tucking the chin in and then pushing back, lifting your head and lift your chin just a little bit, keeping a little bit of pressure of the block to the forehead to the block. And then let's do that again. And I'll show you how to do it with just a hand as well. So if you don't have a block, it works just nicely to use the heel of your hand right between your eyebrows and push against your hand and your hand back to your forehead. And you can start to feel you're engaging the neck muscles here, but in fact, to release any muscles, we also need to engage them a little bit. Good. And then let's just bring our arms down, roll those shoulders up, back, and down. Just let that settle in for a moment. I'm kneeling. Obviously, you could kneel or sit however is accessible and comfortable for you. You can even sit in a chair. We're gonna take our arms out. Take your left arm over your right arm. Bend your elbows. So the goal here is not going to be to wrap our hands today. We're going to keep them apart. And imagine that you have a balloon between your forearms. And then start to try to squish this imaginary balloon between your forearms. Lift your elbows a little bit higher, tuck your chin in, and again, just this whole time, work to squish this imaginary balloon between your forearms and breathe. If you're tight through the upper back and shoulders, you'll probably be feeling this one significantly. You might even get like a little bit of tingling or numbness in your fingers. Let's hold for a couple more breaths. And then just open your arms out, and your arms are probably going to feel like they're floating away from you. That's normal. And then we'll cross the right arm over the left. Bend the elbows, lift the elbows, and then start to squeeze your imaginary balloon between your forearms. Lift your elbows up as high as you can, tuck your chin, and breathe into the place that feels the tightest. See if you can focus your breath to move in through the nose and out through the nose. We get better rib cage expansion when we breathe through the nose. You might even notice this sensation moving into your traps, into your neck. And then let's bring our arms out and exhale. Bring those arms down and roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Okay, let's move to the wall. So we're gonna come over to the wall, and you don't need to be in a squat, but you do need to have room right to left. I'm gonna bring my feet just a little bit away from the wall with a little bit of distance between the feet. Neutral spine, so the back of the pelvis is on the wall. The low back is not smushed against the wall, but it's a little bit lightened. And then your mid back and upper back should be pretty much against the wall. We'll take our arms out to the side. Turn your palms to face forward. So for some of us, even bringing the arms to the wall is going to be impossible. Some of you might even need to put like a pillow between your head and the wall here. We're going to start just like we did at the beginning of the practice, bringing the arms up slowly like we did on the floor. Now my arms are a little bit away from the wall, so yours can be too. Focus on keeping a neutral alignment of your spine. This might be your absolute max. Some of you might be able to come up a little bit, so we'll call these wall angels. So see how high you can go. I'm not anywhere near the wall, but I still feel sensation trying to keep my arms close to the wall. Let's do that again. Keep the back of the head either pushing to the wall or pushing to the pillow that you put behind your head. Keep those arms pressing as close to the wall as possible without letting your rib cage flare, so without dumping into the low back. Nice and slow. Let's do 3 more. Move with your breath. If this makes you sweat, that's pretty normal, especially if you are really tight in these areas. Try not to rush it. Let's do 2 more. Last one. Keep that upper back firm to the wall. The arms as close to the wall as you can. Go slowly in those sticky spots. Good. Okay, come away from the wall, roll your shoulders back. Come down onto all fours. Take your forearms down to the floor with your palms facing up. Push away from the floor. Start to curl your hands in and make 2 fists. And then peel your fists away from the floor and peel your wrists away from the floor and your forearms most likely are probably feeling this stretch. Keep pushing up into the upper back, so don't let yourself collapse. Keep pushing up, and then open your hands out and spread the fingers. Then let's do that one more time. Make 2 fists. Pull your hands away from the wall. Pull the wrists, not the wall, the floor. Pull the wrists, lift, lift, lift. Feel the stretch, push up into the upper back, and then open those hands out. Good. Okay, and then from here, we're just gonna lie right down onto our backs, and you might want to have something underneath your head here. And we're gonna open our arms out to the side. Take your legs out. If it's bothersome for your low back to have the legs out, you can always have the knees bent. And you're going to scrunch up your toes, scrunch up your legs, or put tension in your legs, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your arms, squeeze your shoulders, make a tight, tight, scrunchy face. Deep inhale in, and then exhale, let it all go. And then one more time, squeeze, 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 squeeze everything tight, 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 tight. Exhale. Let it go. And just let your body melt into the mat here. We're going to move into our Shavasana, into our relaxation. If you feel comfortable here, just letting your body rest in a starfish position and absorb all of those movements and stretches we just did, you can stay like this. If you want to bring your roller or your bolster underneath the back of your spine so you can open your chest, I'll show you that as well as an option. So a roller works really nicely too. So if you don't have a bolster, a foam roller works for this as well. So just lying on your back, you can open the legs into butterfly or straight out, and then your arms out to the side. The key with a roller or a bolster though, is you don't want your arms floating like this. What that does is actually creates a little bit more tension in the chest. So if your arms are floating, you're going to want to prop them with something, whether it be a block or a pillow, rolled up towel, doesn't really matter. You just don't really want them floating in space, creating more tension. So I would say for this one, lie here as long as you can, really focusing on the breathing, nice big inhales and exhales through the nose, getting the rib cage moving, the diaphragm moving, and using the breath to imagine like you could breathe all of that congestion or tension away from the areas you feel it the most. And I'll encourage you to stay as long as you can. Thanks for sharing these stretches and this practice together. Namaste.